Wait a minute. I'd like to propose a toast to my family. Someday soon, you're gonna have families of your own. And if you're lucky, you'll remember the little things. Like this.
All my life I never stopped to worry about a thing. Open up and shout it out, never try to sing. Wondering if I've done it wrong.
This is awesome Carter, and you're listening to the Good Times right now.
Wherever.
Good Times Con. Hey, buddies. This is Steve Simeone, and you're listening to Good Times with Steve Simeone. And I'm hanging out with my pal Lee.
Hi.
I'm putting up my headphones because somehow it sounds different. Hold on. I messed up. It's one of those weeks. How was your week, Lee?
I had a really a fun week. I got to go to
Awesome.
I got to go to Vegas, which was fun. It's always fun.
You have a client there now?
I guess it was it was a one-time thing so far, but hopefully it'll turn into more.
That's great.
But it was just when I was a kid, just the idea of a business trip seemed cool.
Yeah, it seemed very grown up.
Yeah, it seemed like, I don't know, it's different from vacation because vacations are always cool, but just like the idea of like, ooh, I'm in a suit, like they paid for my plane ticket, I'm going somewhere else different. It's fun. It was only to Vegas, but it was so much fun. And then even better, last night I thought of you. There was a little boy in the restaurant I was in wearing a cape running around the restaurant, just
like a regular hero cape. Did you see that picture of the three little brothers wearing capes?
I don't think so. Was it in that?
It's on there somewhere. It's on the Regular Hero Instagram. These three little kids were so cute. Thank you to everybody that came out to the Regular Hero blood drive. For people that want to help our mission, helping others, their website is regularhero.org. We need all the donations we can get because it looks like our big fundraiser is going to be postponed because we got David Spade to do it, but now he's going to Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
So that sucks. There's so many people that need the money. I ran into a woman at Children's Hospital last week who works there. It was the sweetest woman ever. And then it just turned out her kid was just diagnosed with cancer. So I'm like, oh my gosh, God. There's just so much. I'm exhausted, to be honest with you.
It's
exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting, and it makes it it's tough, but then it makes the little things, I don't know, it makes me appreciate things a little bit more.
Oh yeah, like I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to give back and help, but I need your help out there to help me help you. You remember Jerry Maguire? Guys, even if it's $5, just send it to regularhero.org because there's people out there that really, really need it. You know, like I'm so grateful and blessed for the life that I have. It's absolutely amazing. And that's what this podcast really is all about. Like it's a celebration of life. And I'm so excited with this week's guest. I finally got Jackie Kashian on here, the host of Dork Forest. She's so cool and awesome. Her new CD just came out. It's called I'm Not the Hero of This Story. And it went to #1. So I was so excited for her.
I like, for some reason, I just see you and Jackie Kashian as like childhood best friends going.
Oh, we would have definitely been friends. She's so cool. And then who else did I get this week? Oh, I got Peter from King of New York Pizza that donates all the pizza for our pizza parties.
Best pizza in LA.
Dude, he's so cool. He's such a good guy. And then Kirk Fox. And you want to hear something awesome?
I do.
Oh, I don't know what I'm allowed to say in it. Okay. I was with Ren Azizi when he got really good showbiz news. I was with Steve Byrne when he got really good show business news. And I was with Eric Griffin when he got really good Eric's got to get on this podcast. Eric Griffin when he got really good show business news. Then yesterday when I was hanging out with Kirk, he had his phone off, but he got a really good phone call while we were recording the podcast. So between that and the time Dice was teaching me how not to gamble in Vegas, and he hit the slot machine for $10,000, I'm convinced I'm really good luck.
I was going to say, you might want to not say, like in this town, people might just start hiring you as like
hang out with
a hangout buddy. Just to be like, all right.
So I got a big business deal on the line. Let's call Steve.
That'd be great. Just to hang out and like give positive energy to people.
Yeah, I think there might be something to it. It's so cool. So I'm so excited about these podcasts. And then I'm going to record with Big Earl Skakel. I think Dom Irera, the legend, said he would do a podcast with me. So there's a lot of good guests coming up. And once again, thank that you guys support this podcast by using the Amazon link on awesomesteve.com. That's how I get to pay for Lee. And if you keep on using it, buying more stuff, maybe I'll be able to make some money off this podcast. But I'm just grateful to do it because I like meeting you guys. I like hearing your stories. And I got to be honest, it's kind of like virtual hanging out. You know what I mean?
And it just gives you a reason just to hang out with your friends. Just hang out and turn your phone off for an hour.
Yeah. Just hang out with us on this podcast. Let's get into this episode, Lee. It's the very funny Jackie Kashian. Oh, this is funny. We were talking. I don't know. You know how like we do our gratitude list at the end of the thing?
Absolutely.
And like I would say stuff. I'm grateful for plumbers and things like that. We were talking about plumbers on this podcast. And then I think from that point on, I heard the faucet running in the bathroom. It was so funny because I couldn't really concentrate because I'm going, should I get up and turn off the faucet? I think somebody left the faucet on. So it was hysterical. The absolute best. All right. We're hanging out with Jackie.
Won't you tell me where have all the good times gone?
Oh, that is awesome. I'm not the hero of this story.
Yes. So
Awesome. Where can people find the album?
it's on iTunes and Amazon.
Okay.
And it's that card is a drop card.
Oh, cool.
So that you can just, if you're in a country that doesn't have iTunes and Amazon, some of them don't have the Amazon for some reason.
Yeah.
You can email me, JackieKashian.com, and then PayPal me some money, and then we'll figure it out.
That's
So-
awesome. I
But
need
they
to
can
get cards
stream
like this. I'm getting to do a USO tour in May.
Oh,
so I
nice.
want to have cards to give. You've done a bunch of that stuff too, haven't
I've
you?
done a little. I'm always willing to do more, just for a couple of reasons. One is because nobody's more bored than deployed
Yeah.
soldiers and Marines and sailors and whatever. Because there's a lot of time to worry.
Yeah.
A lot of sitting around time. Were you in the service?
No, I was
Okay.
not.
But we know a lot of people.
Tons. Yeah, like so many of my friends were. Like, you know
Yeah.
what it was? I used to work at one of my day jobs was working at a gym in Hollywood and
Okay.
down in Venice. So half the people I met just at work were, people actively in the military or just had retired.
Right, or in the National Guard.
Yeah.
And,
So many of my
everyone-
friends, and there's nobody I respect more.
You
There's
know that,
nobody. Teachers, military.
Here's the weird thing is I went in not knowing what the hell, like I'd go on these, they were Armed Forces entertainment ones that I
Yes.
was doing, right? And I went in not knowing anything because my father was in the Marines, but he was really in the Navy. He was a Navy medic.
Oh my gosh.
so,
He's a hero.
Well, except for that, he's my dad. He is not the hero of that.
Isn't it weird that you can't see your parents objectively?
Yeah, I see my dad super objective.
I think one of the funniest things that I want to play around
Sure.
with comedically, like I know somewhere right now there's an assassin sitting in a living room and his kids are like, whatever, Dad, you're such a dork.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't.
Right. You're an amazing sniper. In other news,
We're out of
wash
ice
the
cream.
Dishes. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
right. Yeah. So, but what I did not realize, because I was not raised in a family that was it was important to be of service.
Okay.
Which is funny because my father was in the service, and that's what it's called. It's called being in the service. So I would have to say at least 98% of the people that I've met on the different kind of tours of performing for the troops.
Yep.
I'm leery of the word tour because there's people who are on tours and
Yeah.
those people are living among rubble. Anyway, intense. So at least 98% of the people who join the service to be of service. They wanted to
Yeah.
be of some use.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of people that are just like, well, you're never safe unless you're next to me feeling my muscle. And even people in the service know that guy's a douchebag. And no
Yes.
one wants to, you're like, Jim's all right in a fight. You just try not to be alone with him now.
My one friend was like, he was like, hey man, there's certain people that are so stupid they'll get you killed. And he was like, yeah. They're not the people
Nope.
you want to.
That's not your buddy. That's
No.
not the guy you want to be in the. He's like, he's okay, but you don't want to be standing next to him when it goes down.
Yeah.
Because he wants to shoot dogs.
Oh, God.
Because he's got a giant gun, and you're like, no, man, we're not here to. Do you ever read Generation Kill?
No, but they adapted that to an HBO series.
Right. I never saw the. I never saw the TV show. I did
Okay.
meet the guy who wrote it.
Oh, wow.
And he rode in an MRAP, or whatever, in 2003 or 4
Yeah,
into
one of those-
Baghdad with a recon Marine troop, which shouldn't have all been in one truck because they're recon Marines and they're supposed to be parachuted ahead, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, the general was like, "We're going to send all the recon Marines in trucks." In whatever these vehicles to essentially trip all the
my God.
all the ambushes, and you're like, well, if you dropped us in, we could maybe disarm the ambushes from the other side. No, okay, well, I guess we're just driving in, and one of the guys that was in the blowhole, like like out with the barit.
Yeah.
He kept saying stuff like, "Hey, there's a camel. I'm going to shoot it." And the corporal who was in charge of the truck was like, "We're not here to shoot camels. Settle down." And he's like, "Oh, there's a dog. I'm going to shoot." It's like, "We're not here to shoot. Keep it together."
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's that guy, but genuinely, 98% of the men and women I met were amazing. Amazing.
They're better. Like I my first tour was about 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was like pretty depressed. I'm going to be honest. And I was just like at that point in my life where I'm like, oh, everything stinks. Everybody stinks. Like I was just whatever. And then I got to meet some of those people. And I was like, oh my gosh, just great people in the world.
Yeah.
Like it's just better people. They made
Just
me
decent human beings
Yeah.
who want to be doing something of use.
service. Yeah. Of use.
Yeah.
Like I remember my first trip to Afghanistan and I remember meeting a guy who was like, I'm here because I have 2 little girls. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I would love to influence the society in a way where the little girls of today can be educated and one day vote and be a part of the government. And I was like, what? This guy's amazing. He's a superhero.
Yeah. It's weird. I was supposed to go to Afghanistan, and then the week before we were supposed to leave, they killed bin Laden.
Oof.
And then they said, "Hey, comedy is canceled in Afghanistan. Don't go to Afghanistan." And I was like, "Fair enough." And they said, "We don't know where you're going, but it's not Afghanistan." And I was like, wait, what if I don't want to go anywhere now because I'm scared?
Yeah.
And they said, no, you're still going to go somewhere, but we don't know where. And I was like, did I enlist at some point? What just happened? And it was fine. We went to Africa where I did not know we had troops.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
we went
Where in Africa did you go? Did you go to Djibouti?
We went to Djibouti. You may insert your own joke. Right? Those guys, I did them a favor. Didn't tell that joke when I was there. And, yeah, and I don't know why because I went. It had to be like 7 or 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
But this young Marine came up to us after the first show in Djibouti and said, "Hey, are you coming to Kenya? We'd love you in Kenya." And I was like, "I don't actually know where we're going next, but I don't think it's Kenya." And he goes, "Well, we're not really there anyway." And I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm a comic with a Twitter feed. Why don't you zip it together?"
As you just shared it on my podcast.
Well, and everybody's it's on my album. I was like, I think the people of Kenya should know that the United States is in Kenya.
We're everywhere, man.
We're everywhere. We got a lot of loose soldiers. It's like, I don't know. And so often the fact that there are American soldiers everywhere means that when there's a natural disaster, they're the first ones who can help you.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. And
yes.
I mean, there's a whole picture there that because I am a libtard, snowflake, bleeding heart liberal. Welcome to my poli-sci degree from the University of Wisconsin. And I'm an anarchic socialist is what I think of myself as. I wish everyone would choose to share.
Yeah.
But since everyone isn't choosing to share, we might have to legislate some sharing. Anyway,
everything I needed to learn, I learned. Everything I need to know, I learned in kindergarten. Right?
Essentially. And nobody calls 5-year-olds libtard socialists, so fuck off.
But isn't that fascinating that being that progressive in your, and then you meet the military people and you're like, wait a second.
Right. And my dad, like I said, was in the Marines, but he I come from a long line of cowards. We're runners, man. One of the first things he ever taught me as a kid, he's like, you get in a fight, you run. And he said, you can't run, distract, and then run. And
but that's actually the same advice some of my toughest, absolute gnarliest friends.
Like who like fighting, maybe.
Yeah.
Even.
There was one guy, my buddy, Big Dennis, was like a lifelong martial artist, and he was a huge man on
His
top of it.
name was Big Dennis.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I wanted him to show me martial arts. Like, this was in my early 20s. So I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, this is what you do. And he got my fighting stance down, and he was like, now take your right hand, swing it this way, turn your hips, and run in the other direction.
Yeah.
He was like, it's never worth it.
It's worked out every single time for me. Every time. One time I picked a fight, and I was, I think, 12.
Yes.
And I picked a fight with a 9-year-old girl. Okay. I am a girl.
You should be winning this one.
I should be winning this one, and I should be buried headfirst in the sand and have my feet painted with honey for picking a fight with a little kid.
It's a huge difference between a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old,
yeah,
by the way. Every year when you're a kid matters.
It matters. And she beat the shit out of me. I'm sorry, spit take.
That's awesome.
But the thing is she beat the shit out of me because I was, and I genuinely believe this, whether it's true or not, I was wrong.
Yeah.
My heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
She had right on her side.
Yes, I believe that.
It gave her the strength of 10 men.
Yeah, she became the Incredible Hulk.
Yes, and she hulked out and she beat me up, and I never did it again. Lesson learned. I actually had a bad, and I have told this story on my own podcast, The Dork Forest. By the way, I'm Jackie Kashian.
And I'm going to do an intro before.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. So. And, like 3 weeks ago, we live in Los Angeles. And, so like 3 weeks ago, there was supposedly I read that there was an immigration checkpoint right by my house.
Oh my God.
And I said to my husband, hey, I think we need laundry detergent. I'm going to go to the grocery store. And he's like, and we had my in-laws were over, and he goes, just for laundry detergent? And I said, there might be an ice setup on Van Nuys. So I'm going to go, just see if I am needed as a white lady meat shield. And he's like, well, I love you for even caring enough to do it. I will watch my mom's. And so he stayed, and I went down essentially looking for trouble again with this little girl.
Yeah.
I went looking for trouble. There was nothing there. It was gone, or it had never been. It had just been like one of these things.
Rumors.
So I go to Ralph's. I go to the grocery store, because I'm out. Might as well get
it. Yeah.
Right. I'm walking out of Ralph's. In front of me is an old man. I am not the hero of this story, because I pushed an old man. I didn't push him down.
What possessed you to push an old man?
Here's what happened. Right. Because this is not okay. It's not okay. Not on any way level.
Because old people are my favorite.
Well, this is a bad guy, but there's still no reason to do it. And there are other ways, and I have learned since I've talked to others who were like, hey, guess what other ways you could have dealt with that? Anyway, so I'm walking out of Ralph's, and this guy, he's got to be 80. And he's not homeless. He's not crazy looking. He's not hurt looking, anything. Yeah. He's wearing Dockers and a belt and a polo shirt, carrying a loaf of French bread, right? Okay. Normal looking, very old man. And he walks by, we both walk by the rent-a-cop. And the rent-a-cop guy is black. And he starts yelling at the guy and calling him the N-word. And telling him he's from Haiti and that's why there's AIDS and he fucked monkeys.
Are you crazy? It's not the sweetheart security guy at the Ralph's up on Burbank, is it? Oh, I love that guy. Yeah. I talk to that guy every time I go to Ralph's.
10 o'clock. And that guy, the best thing about this story was that guy just laughed in his face.
Awesome.
Because, well, except for that, it means that happens 3 times a day to that fucking guy, which is the sad part. But
it's terrible.
It's terrible. But I lost my tiny lizard mind, and 10 years ago, I would have just yelled at the guy and said, what the hell is your problem?
Yeah.
In this case, I got in his face and I was like, no, you hunk of junk. This is not okay. You don't say crap like that. And I got in his, and I was like, what the hell is your problem and all this stuff, right?
You were already fired up before you left the house.
Right.
Let's be honest.
And we're in a weird time, right? Of racism and bundling people up into trains and sending them into the desert to kill them is my greatest fear. So, and brown people is who's going. Anyway, so I got in this guy's face and he said to me, it's none of your business. This has nothing to do with you. Let it go. And I said, it has entirely everything to do with me because I'm an American.
Absolutely.
And we're here. And he said, "Puh, America." And I turned into a country music song and lost my shit and pushed him. And that's where I was like, hey, get it together. Walk away. Walk away. There's no pushing of the elderly.
Right.
And I was told a couple of things I could have done is gone and talked to the security guard, rent-a-cop guy, and said, hey, man, that guy is an anomaly, and whatever you need, you talk to that guy. Or I could have said to the old guy, if I needed to, can you hear what you're saying? Listen to what you're saying out loud, out of your face, and say that to him until he is driven mad, and just follow him to his car going, did you hear what you said? Did you hear what you said out loud? Yeah. And I was like, I did neither of those two things, which means live and learn, right?
Yeah.
Crazyville.
So sad. Like, I actually feel bad for the old guy in this story for just thinking like that.
Oh, like, no, he's a disaster. He's a mess.
What a terrible way to go through life. You know what I mean? Like, whenever I get angry with people, I step back. And usually my anger turns to pity. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Where I go, think about how much of life he's missing out on or did miss out on.
Right. There's the parallel with that for me because I tend to, like, whenever, when you park illegally and you think,
I tried very rarely. I'm such
very
a nerd.
rarely. Or you've lost your keys or you lost your wallet.
Yes.
And you're like, well, I'm screwed.
Yep.
I make it so big in my head. There's a committee meeting, there's a parade, and I have, and it's practice, right?
Yes.
You have to take a step back.
Yep. Interrupt that thought. You go, wait a second.
Calm down.
Yes.
This will suck.
Yes.
It is not the end of the world. You will figure out how to get more keys. You will figure out how to get more ID. You will cancel things.
Can I tell you that's the best thing for me that I found about getting older? Where I'm like, oh, wait a second. Think of everything you've already survived. This too shall pass. Nothing's that big of a deal.
Nothing's that big of a deal. And the weirdest thing is if the relief is bigger.
Yeah.
When you see it, and the sort of the happiness that I feel when I say, oh, I found it.
Yes.
See, I did not need to lose my mind because there it is.
Right there.
And it would have either been there anyway or not been there. And if I would be all in a tizzy, I would not be happy at all. And
sometimes I check myself where I'm like, you're being an idiot, and I start laughing at myself. Those are the good days.
It's a learned task. Learning to be patient
everything is.
with yourself and with others and all these things. And I haven't lost my temper like that in years. So with that old guy. So there's that.
It reminds me of that Simpsons when Homer was like, you have to take your emotions and press them all the way down. And then sometimes they just come out. Like, remember when Daddy threw the whiskey bottle at the referee? And he shakes Bart's head. Like, that's one thing, like, from my crazy family, me and my brothers, we call it the invisible fuse.
Yeah.
That we would light somebody's fuse and nobody would acknowledge that behavior of things was bothering them, and then it would just explode out of nowhere.
Oh, the invisible fuse.
The invisible fuse has been lit.
One of my brothers calls it whenever anybody storms out, because we all drive separately. We always drive separately to every event, so that my brother Phil always goes, just in case someone needs to have a Kashian-like moment where you can throw down $12 for your entree, no tip, and storm out so that other people have to cover your tip.
Hilarious. Yeah, I'm just getting better at acknowledging stuff where I'm like, hey, man, this isn't cool. So I don't just snap out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And what it probably was, you've probably been pissed since the election and you see how things are going back and forth and how we forget. I don't believe in politics, but what drives me crazy is when we don't see the humanity in others.
Yeah.
Where it's like, come on, man.
Well, the first line of this new album is, traditionally, I've not been a political comic, but I am now.
Yeah.
Because I'm alive.
Yeah.
I am a human person watching 2% of society lead 33% of the lemmings into possibly doing terrifyingly horrible things, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I never thought we would be the bad guys in World War III. I would not have called that, right?
Yeah.
And we are heading down a weird ass road that I can't live in that future either, right? I have to live in the present of now and make sure that I help the person in front of me.
That's it. That's what I put on my last album. I was like, turn off the TV and just be loving and kind to everybody you meet.
Get out of the screen. Get off the screen.
Yeah.
and into a human pair of eyes.
Yes, and it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it brings you back.
And I had a great talk. I do a bunch of work with Children's Hospital. I've been blessed that way. And one of my little buddies, this kid, he's a miracle that he's alive. And we celebrated his 6th birthday 2 weeks ago. It was awesome.
Neat.
And his parents are Mexican Americans. And when his dad was returning from Make-A-Wish, the family went on a Make-A-Wish trip to Florida for Disney.
Neat.
And it was like right before the election, and they got on a plane, and there's a guy wearing a Make America Great hat again, the Trump hat. And I was like, I bet you if you actually had taken the time to get to know that guy, you probably have a lot in common. And he was like, Steve, that's exactly what happened. He was like, I made sure I sat next to him. And he was like this.
Southwest?
Yeah, it was. I think it was Southwest.
Yeah, it would have
and
had
it was
to
like,
have been.
we had the greatest conversation.
Yeah.
We saw the humanity in each other. We talked things out. And he was like, we like most of the same stuff, and we all pretty much want the same stuff.
Right. That guy just doesn't want the corn canning factory to go out of business.
Right.
And he's not the problem. I mean, the people who got tricked into this and it's just, it's a snowball that we got to make sure it does not run out of,
That's why I think we're so blessed, because every night we're in front of what I love about comedy.
Yeah.
Is how diverse the audiences can be.
Yeah. And the most open-minded people in the world, because they have, guys, you might want to YouTube, Google your comedy, because you've walked into and it makes them the most open-minded people in the world, because people just walk into comedy clubs going, hey, I'm going to see comedy.
Yes.
And you're like, you don't know what kind of comedy you're going to see. You might see mean comedy. You might see pratfalls.
It's even more diverse than music.
It's
like if you show up for the symphony and Metallica's on stage, you're going to be like, whoa, this.
Right. This was not what I wanted.
Yes.
And with comedy, there's not like, hey, I'm going to see hip hop.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to see. You're like, oh, it's a black guy. I wonder what's going to happen.
Right.
Or, oh, ladies here. I wonder what's going to happen. But straight white guys are just as diverse within straight white guys.
Correct.
And so you're like, oh, straight white guy. I'm a straight white guy. I wonder what's going to, you're like, no, it still could be weird.
And it's so subjective, comedy. It's more subjective than taste. It's more subjective than taste buds. Because I got like people will actually get angry where they're like, that's not funny. I'm like, dude, they just tried their best. Like, there's a lot of controversy right now with a bunch of comedians where people are like, oh, they're terrible.
Ryan Stout for a month Googled the words comedy and trouble or something, or joke.
Hilarious.
And fired or something. And every day at a new, there was an episode of the Dork Forest where he just talked about it. It was fascinating.
That is fascinating. But I think it's the best thing is when people are just going there for comedy, in quotation marks, we have the opportunity every night to build bridges, to remind everybody that we're all connected, because that's our job.
Yeah.
Like I have the type of stand up where I'm not like, if I connect with an audience, it's going to be great. But if I don't connect, people are going to be like, why is this guy talking about his life?
Oh,
who
interesting.
cares?
I am the golden retriever of stand-up comedy. Nobody doesn't not like me. Even my dad,
incredible.
One time my dad said, people know you're a big pinko commie. Everybody get any guff about that? And I said, Dad, have you looked at me? Have you looked at me recently? People look at me and think, what's she going to do? Vote? I'm terrified. And so, I mean, I look like everybody's aunt or their roommate from college.
Hilarious.
So it's, even when I went overseas, I used to do this joke or tell this story about how a bunch of my friends here in Los Angeles were like, you're going to be surrounded by hot 19-year-old guys. And you're like, have you ever been surrounded by hot 19-year-old guys? It's a lot like being buried underneath a litter of golden retriever puppies. It's exhausting, but adorable. It's adorable, but exhausting. And I mean, this is not a MILF. I am not a cougar. This is lady who makes a good pot roast. And if you miss your mom, I will give you a hug. So
hilarious.
It's fine. And it's
a great mission in life, by the way.
And there's nothing wrong with that mission. And it's not, I mean, the mission is to make people laugh. But what we were talking about is I like how if you're really conservative or if you're really liberal, whatever those things mean to you, right?
Yeah.
And you go to the comedy club, people who go to see comedy are more open-minded and are like, well, I don't agree with that, but it made me laugh.
Yes.
And they're like, that guy seems like a dick, but he's funny.
Yep.
Or, well, she seems a little bit of a hothouse flower, but I'm on board.
Yeah.
And, and you laugh if it's funny.
Yes.
And if it isn't funny to you, you can leave.
Absolutely.
It turns out there's a bar. Take a lap.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
It's so true.
Yeah. And people do like the first 15 of that, 12, maybe 12 of my new album are jokes that I've only done 6 to 10 times.
Oh, cool.
I have never put anything that raw on an album before. This is my 4th album.
Okay.
The following 45 minutes are the jokes that I have been working on for the last 3 years, you know, 2.5 years. So, those first 12 to 15 minutes are political jokes because
you felt it needed to be said.
Right. It was 6 weeks after the election.
Yeah.
Everybody was relatively just kind of stunned, going, what the hell is going to happen? Nobody knew.
Yeah.
So, and I am very egotistical and I wanted to make sure it got on the album.
Yes.
So, because I don't know where I'm going to be before the next album.
Yes, I opened up my album to a brand new bit too because I was like, I just want to remind us that we're all in this together.
When did yours drop?
December. So I had recorded in October. It was right before the election.
Right before the election.
And I was like, look, man, we're all in this together. We're all connected. Don't believe
That's
the hype.
great. That's great.
That's it. And I told a couple of stories about that. And then we were off to the races.
Mm-hmm. And then you did the rest of your jokes.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're just up there talking to people. Yeah.
It's the coolest thing ever.
It's the greatest job in the world.
It is the absolute best.
I mean,
how long did you want to be a comedian?
I never wanted to be a comedian.
Okay.
I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. We never listened to comedy when I was a kid. We listened to motivational speakers because my father is a salesman. Zig Ziglar, man.
Awesome.
Sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Zig Ziglar's actually kind of great, by the way.
He is great. He's not a bad guy.
No.
That guy's he's just sales guy. And he's not selling you, a buggy ride to nowhere.
Right.
He's like, you just gotta, you get a product and you sell it. Mm-hmm. You gotta believe in the product and the product is whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is how you sell it. And he's like, I don't necessarily want to sell the thing you want to sell, but I can tell you how to sell anything that you believe in.
That you have to believe in it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that story where you said when you were 12 and the little girl was 9 and you're like, I lost the fight because I knew I was wrong. Yeah. I kind of feel that way about sales or comedy where it's like, it took me a while as a comedian to grow to the point where I could say exactly what I felt on stage.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to get the laugh, which I guess would correlate to trying to get the sale. It was like, no, this is what I believe.
Yeah. The first 3 or 4 years, you just want to get laughs. You want to get reaction to some extent of stand-up comedy. And then after that, it's why when people who are new, you watch the comic that you love, right? Like yes. I never did when I was a kid, but there are people who've grown up now who love like Zach Galifianakis or Sarah Silverman.
Yes.
And those guys 6-7 years ago were doing like this ironic racism thing.
Right.
Or other Nick DiPaolo and does this sort of real hard-assed, kind of hard-edged, kind of mean,
Yeah.
But he's been doing it for 20 years.
Correct.
And so can do it.
Yes.
So if you open up, and then other people who are talking about like Maria Bamford is, she'll talk about her mental illness and she'll talk about other things that are hard. All these comics that you admire, that's great. It's very hard to start your career on your Holocaust joke, right? It's, you might be Jewish. You might have been, attacked as a child and horribly maimed, and you think it's funny because you lived through it.
Right.
And by the way, you're right. It is funny now that you've lived through it. Yes. And there might be a great bit there.
Yes.
But it's like Picasso learning how to paint an arm and then going into Cubism.
Absolutely.
So it's, I mean, to dissect it to death.
It's fascinating. But, I love it though.
Yeah. So,
I love dissecting comedy.
Yeah.
It is the truth. I had a painter on here who's also a comic. This guy, Taylor Boss, his stuff's incredible.
That's neat.
And he was like, you have to make sure you can replicate reality before you start to.
Yeah, you just have to have the motor skills to some extent. It's like if you can, it's muscle memory at some point.
Yep.
And then you can dive into your weirdest thoughts. Like look at Louis C.K. Mm-hmm. That guy talks about sort of very much unwanted thoughts. Like he's got 3 or 4 bits that are about just creepy thoughts that he has in his head.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and he can do that because he's coming from a place. Well, and he's, because he's been doing it 25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It's he can come to it. He knows where the line is.
Correct.
Comedy is so hard. Like when I talk to my nieces and nephews and they're trying to be funny, I was like, it's a learned skill. It is a learned skill, and you got to learn where the line is, and you're going to hurt somebody's feelings or you're not going to hurt somebody's feelings, and that's the line.
I remember reading an interview with Chris Rock, and he talked about the really controversial stuff that he liked, because I guess certain people, they're like, ooh, this is what I really want to talk about. But he said it was like kind of like mixing nitroglycerin. He was like, if it's off just a little bit, it's going to blow up, and it's not going to work.
Which is why I think the longer you do stand up, you want to mix my nitroglycerin.
Yeah,
because
you're
like,
it's that challenge.
It's the thing that makes your heart start pounding. You're like, I'm going to try to do this bit.
Yeah,
I got a couple of those bits on the last album, you know, about sexual abuse, and my husband is a game designer, and so we sort of reframed this sexual abuse thing that happened to me using LARPing. Live action role playing, which is it's a costume party with costumes. It's a costume party with game mechanics. And, cause he's a game designer, and
that's
everything
awesome.
Has a game mechanic. Absolutely everything in his life. He's like, well, I see what you're doing there. That's like, I once got a text message from jury duty, and he said, this game is broken. And,
that's awesome.
It was hilarious. But, the crazy thing, it's just, he's wonderful, and there's so many layers to it that I'm sure it's true with plumbing. I mean, and I keep mentioning plumbing in all of these interviews, but I love plumbing. I would love to know how to do plumbing.
It's the coolest thing ever. I have a buddy of mine who he's general contractor. He can fix everything and anything, and I'm fascinated by that. I want
to be that guy.
Yeah, I love hanging out with him, and like, because like I would dig into YouTube videos, and whenever I would get stuck, I'd call my buddy Kevin. And now I just look for stuff around the house. I'm like, Kevin, grab the tool. Let's go do something cool. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know. It would be so great to be able to fix stuff. And I know there's people out there going, there's poop involved. And you're like, that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is that noise that doesn't make out of the pipe.
Exactly. It's tangible results. And I know as a comic, okay, I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
My theory is this. Life can be so challenging and difficult that if you can make somebody laugh, you have a moral obligation to do so. I believe that.
That's neat.
I really do believe that. And I've noticed that people that really are more self-actualized, even plumbers, like if you can do that, what a great skill that is to offer the world.
Right. Plumbing.
It's amazing.
It's an amazing skill.
I know two comics that don't really do stand-up anymore, moved to Washington, D.C. Now their plumbing company bills over $1 million a year.
Right. Well, I mean, it's licensed to print money, that plumbing gig. But I'll tell you, and they have a very nice, they have a very good union, so people can work.
And two guys are retiring for everyone entering the union. Just throwing that out there. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so the world
gig
needs
to get
plumbing.
into. Absolutely.
There's I met a woman plumber the other day, and she said one of the great things about the union was that it's entirely merit based.
Awesome.
So if you were a good woman plumber, it doesn't matter that you're a woman, you know?
Yeah, that's what's so great about it. It didn't flush before. Now it does flush.
Success.
Yeah. And the difference between with comedy, it's like what we do, we go out there, we're on stage, and then it's gone. And it's like you have a feeling, they have a feeling, but what can you really touch? And that's why I love, like, we fixed my oven. Yep. I fixed my garbage disposal. I fixed my shower. I fixed my toilet. We fixed my car last week. And you're like, didn't work. Now it works.
Now it works.
It's the best feeling.
It is tangible. It's one of those. But the tangibleness of stand-up comedy is the immediate satisfaction of telling a joke and getting a response.
Yes, and then but that's also these CDs.
Yeah,
that's 3 years worth of work.
Yep,
right there.
And I people who want to do, like, I know Stanhope does a lot of CDs in a row in a year or whatever, or per year. Mike Kaplan will do a lot of them. And Louis C.K. famously was doing them for a while.
Yep.
And a lot of British comics will do it too. But my jokes don't actually work like that. They take I will start a joke and it will be a 6-minute joke. And it will get whittled down to 2.5 or 3.5, right?
Yes.
And everyone should appreciate the fact that I don't put out an album every year. No worries.
Right.
Come see me live. You can watch me work on them.
That's what I think's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Comedy live's the coolest.
It's the best.
It's
the way I like it. Comedy live. comedy on an album, and then any kind of video.
I agree with that.
Yeah, just because the screen can separate you from the even the oral.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're more connected to it.
like if you're just listening to comedy, you could picture whatever you want. It's like reading a book. It's like even listening to a book.
Yeah, it's the coolest.
Yeah.
Like I remember as a little kid, like I loved stand up. I never thought I could do it, but I loved it. And as like an 11-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid, by that point I had watched Eddie Murphy's Delirious, I don't know, forever.
Right.
And I realized what I thought made him great. I was like, he doesn't give you the picture. He gives you the dots. He just gives you enough where in your brain you make the connections between everything. And I'm like, oh man, this is the coolest thing ever.
Why did you think you couldn't do it?
I thought you had to be born special. I didn't think a normal kid from the suburbs of Philadelphia was allowed to enjoy their life that much.
Oh, interesting. Fuck that.
Yeah.
That's harsh, man. That's brutal.
Well, I thought like show business people were just born different.
Interesting. Somebody explained to me probably 6 months ago what I do another podcast about just the minutia of stand-up comedy. Seriously.
And who do you do that with?
Lori Kilmartin.
That's what I thought.
It's just called Jackie and Lori. It's on the Nerdist Network.
Awesome.
And it's just us bitching about stand-up comedy and just going down a rabbit hole of that. So
Cool.
it's very popular with comics and with comedy nerds, people who love stand-up. And but Lori explained to me like 6-8 months ago what imposter syndrome was. Have you heard of imposter syndrome? First of all, the word syndrome. Anyway, but imposter syndrome, I guess, is something, it's common among women and minorities, or that you think you're not valid enough. Like you get the job, but you think you're not worthy of it. And so you don't ask for the raise. You don't ask for the promotion. You wait to be offered the raise and offered the promotion, even though you're doing the one job and you could probably learn to do the next job, right? So that's called imposter syndrome. And you feel like you're an imposter. You have this great job and you don't feel worthy of it somehow. And
that's crazy.
It is crazy. Because we can all be taught simple tasks.
Absolutely.
It'll be fine. Yeah, it's fine. Monkeys can be taught to do most things. Don't worry about it. Just take the
Robots
job.
are going to take over just about everything anyway.
Exactly. Take the job, figure out how to do it. Guess what? If you can't do it, you'll find that out too. Yeah. And then it's
and honestly, just about smartest guy I know told me this once, and it rings true. Like 90% of everybody of every profession probably isn't that good at it.
Right. 90% of it is showing up on time.
Yeah, it's just getting the job.
Yeah, please get there on time, and then you'll be fine.
I remember my dad told me that about Ivy League colleges. He was like, "Steve, the toughest thing is just getting in." He was like, "If you want to go to Penn, knock it out for 2 years at Villanova or Loyola, then transfer in."
Did you do that?
No.
You didn't have any interest, or it did not enough. Because here's what my dad was. I was literally raised to be an imposter. Literally, my father would be like, "Now you can do whatever you want."
See, my parents did tell me that, and I believe, but I just thought comedians. Like, well, the truth is, I did open mics in my very early 20s, but I just had to get enough misery in my life to go, okay, this is the only thing I want to do.
Okay.
But like as a little kid,
because of day job wise, or
okay. But I thought like comedian, pro wrestler, soldier of fortune. I thought these were all the coolest ways to go through life. But I was like, can you really do that? And I remember Mitzi Shore, I was her assistant for a year. And she started laughing. She was like, yeah, all comedians think that until they try it.
Yeah. And the thing about stand-up is if you want to try and do stand-up, try it.
Yeah.
Because you will know immediately whether you want to do stand-up comedy. And it hits people at different levels, of course. But when I did it, I was 19. And it was like heroin.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing now.
Yes.
And I got a 1.8 that semester.
Wow.
And luckily, the club burned down. And so I graduated.
So you could go on with your life.
Right. So I could go on with my life. And my sister was like, well, now you can finish college because she is the boss of me. And I was like, no, I was going to drop out and just go do comedy. And she was like, it's only another 3 more years. And I was like, okay. And then the next year she said, it's only another 3 more years because I was not great at college. So
what was Madison like?
It's great. It's, I went 84 to 88. So, a lot of Reagan and I studied poli-sci because I was 83 to 88, 5 years. So I was like 3 years in, and the counselor called me into the office and said, "You must declare a major." Okay. And I was like, "What's it look like?" And I think it was a guy, and he goes, "You have one more credit towards graduation in poli-sci than you do in history." And I said, "Well, then I am a poli-sci major."
That's awesome.
And most of my poli-sci was not domestic. It was Southeast Asian studies for some reason. And
that's fascinating. Yeah, have you been to that part of the world?
No, I went to Hong Kong a couple of years ago just to do stand up, but
cool.
I want to that's not Southeast Asia. So it's but I want Indonesia and the Philippines and Malaysia have always been places I've wanted to go.
Yeah, I've heard some of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah, I have a good friend who's Indonesian who is working on the cure for AIDS, by the way.
So
I asked her how it was going, and she said, not good. And every time I see her, I'm like, how's that cure for AIDS coming along? She's like, yeah, better than cancer. At least we know where it comes from. Yeah. And I was like, well, good for you. So,
baby steps.
Baby steps. The journey continues. Steady work. And, but she's funny because she's from Indonesia, American citizen. Her husband, who sadly just passed away, but from Japan, financial advisor guy, American citizen. Their son, they named him Hans. And they named him Hans. She was like, you guys are always culturally appropriating our names. We're going to culturally appropriate the Germans.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, Hans? And she was like, yeah, I like it. Hans Takanura or whatever the last name is.
The best. Like where I grew up was just about everybody, at least in my little region of the suburbs, was either Jewish, Italian, or Irish. So much. So there'd be these great juxtapositions. It'd be like Seamus Catanzariti. You know what I mean? Like, great name.
Right.
Rocco O'Leary.
We were German, Polish, and Armenian. And there was some Italian. Like if you branched out, and then there was and I found this out because there's a woman who does stand-up comedy in Barcelona named Rachel Arieff, and my father sells aluminum siding, and we've always lived
just like Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes, except for so the South Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a little factory town outside of Milwaukee, in between sort of Milwaukee and Racine.
Okay,
and Rachel Arieff's dad sold aluminum siding, and he was from a northern suburb, a northern town just north of Milwaukee named Fox Point.
Wow.
And her father didn't have 6 children. And so it was it was a little cheaper.
Yeah.
My father, very successful, 6 children. He would have had to have been Mel Gibson, to have 6 children and have a bag of money as a doorstop. So Rachel Arieff, I think, just has a brother. So they were able to.
Have you noticed, though, and I'm not saying this to kiss your ass, I've noticed people that come from big families, they're always cooler.
We're good people.
Always cooler.
Do you know why? Because you can always ignore 2. And so there's always 2 you can talk to and 2 you can ignore, and then you can rotate.
Oh, that's hysterical.
I'm the only one who talks to all of them. I'm the youngest. And so I'm like the Andy, my husband calls me the hub. Yeah. And, I'll get a call. How's Terry doing? I was like, he's fine. You could call him and ask him about it.
Right.
And they're like, no, just checking in. Really? Just checking in with me about a guy that
you could easily pick up the phone and get
shared a bedroom with for 15 years. Okay, fair enough. It's weird.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But that's also a very common comedic trait I've noticed. Mm-hmm. Comedians are the people that sort of like keep their family together one way or another.
Right. Or they're complete outcasts.
Yeah.
It's sort of like to.
Or that's the person they wanted to be or have you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff about my family on the albums and or in my act, I guess would be the better way to not make it an ad. Get out there. But the like when I recorded this one the week after I went to Milwaukee.
Where did you record this?
I always recorded my home club at Acme in Minneapolis.
That's awesome.
Acme Comedy Club.
Okay.
Yeah, it's where I came up, and it's almost impossible to get into Acme unless you grew up in the system, you are famous, or you are famous adjacent. It's almost exactly like the Comedy Works in Denver.
Yeah, I love that room.
It's a beautiful room, but you got to grow up in the system. You got to be famous. You got to be famous adjacent.
Yep.
So there's a couple of towns that just run it like that. And what are you going to do?
Yeah, but it's cool. Mm-hmm. It just means it's good.
Yeah, and it means that they care about their local scene, which is the most, yeah, good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass if you are not from there or famous adjacent. But think of the big picture and you're like, no, that will create better comics. And then people will see better comedy, and then comedy will continue to be a thing.
Correct.
So, big picture.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things about being a comic, too. It's like if you're not getting the opportunities that you want, it's like, okay, just make something better.
Right. You get what you get.
Yeah.
The thing is, and that's fine. They can't stop you from doing stand-up comedy.
Yep.
It was when I did Last Comic Standing the first year, there's these the cameras in your face, like a reality show, right?
Yeah.
And, they didn't have a lot of questions. It was the second season, I think. And they just, I don't know what season it was, but it wasn't the first season. And so the director or whatever that person would be called, I don't care, kept saying to me, what happens if you don't win? And I was like, well, I continue to do stand-up comedy. I'm going to, I don't know if you know this, I'm going to Chicago next week. Anyway, so that's fine the first 35 times you hear it.
Yep.
Once at like 115, 175, part of my brain started going, what's going to happen if I don't win this contest?
Oh, gosh.
Which was, I'm furious to this day that they put that anywhere in my brain. I never had stage fright before I went in to do Last Comic Standing. I would get nervous, but it was a nervous energy that would create fun.
Yes.
Right? That you channel that nervous energy to go, this is exciting. Let's go do it.
Yeah, get to do that.
Last Comic Standing, one of the final sets, I wasn't in the top 10. I didn't make the house, right?
Okay.
And Bill Dwyer went out before me, great comic. So he comes back and I'm just standing backstage, just sweating. And having all kinds of bodily functions, which no dog could be blamed upon. And but Bill Dwyer comes off stage, he grabs me by my shoulders and he goes, get this, you get out there, it's just stand-up comedy.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was awesome. He was like,
what a good dude.
Just start talking, it'll be fine. And I was like, thank you.
That's awesome.
So I went out and it was fine. And there was, but after that, I remember I froze up on stage twice.
Huh.
And it was, once was a corporate. That was disappointing for the people because I had a brain freeze in the middle of it. But it was the second time it happened. And that's when I realized how to deal with the stage fright. And since then it's mostly dissipated. And if it ever happens again, I know how to deal with it, which is, I physically move. If I take a step to the left or the right, I've moved my body, which moves my mind, which unfreezes my tongue, which is what I use to talk to the peoples.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is all sort of connected, right? That makes sense.
So so I don't know if any of your listeners get that kind of thing, but just take a small step. Just kind of, and laugh at yourself and go, all right.
Yeah, I remember a comic that was kind of like a mentor to me when I was like, okay, I'm going to really try to do this. He told me once, he was like, whatever you're thinking, just acknowledge it. He was like, it'll put you back in the moment.
Yeah.
You'll be in the moment with the audience. And he was like, yeah, it would have been funnier had you said that instead. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I walked off stage and I was like, oh, no. And he was like, you should have said it. Because that would have been awesome. He was like, so from now on, if the thought comes in, say it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right, there's no script. You're writing it.
Yes.
It turns out.
It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. It's really great.
Are you the only funny one in your family?
No, I'm not. Everyone, by the way, is hilarious. And second of all, when I first started doing stand-up comedy, my stepmother famously said to me, in my mind famous, you're not the funny one. Russ is the funny one. And I was like, out loud to my face. And then I said, Russ can't be the handsome one and the smart one and the funny one. He doesn't get to be all the things. I know he's the golden child, but I'm taking this one.
That's awesome.
And he continues to be the golden child, but everyone is funny in my family. So
it's the best.
Yeah. Except for my oldest brother who, for some reason found Jesus, and Jesus took funny away from him and jammed it into a coffin and shoved it up his ass. Terry, I love you, but Jesus Christ, shut it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'm pretty sure that Jesus I know once is up for laughs. His first miracle was turning water in the wine. Just to keep the party going.
Guys, I used to do this bit about how, because the thing is I love Terry, and Terry is a good man. And, but he is also kind of mean Like,
Not
for some
cool.
reason, he's got the meanest Jesus. I'm not above. I want him to. I would love him to write a children's novel, a children's book called "The Meanest Jesus," because my Jesus always says like, "Good try, hey, don't do that again,"
Yeah.
right? And his Jesus always says, "Oh, we're gonna have to burn you."
Yeah, it's
And
terrible.
you're like, no. We were both raised in the same church, which was all in Armenian. So you don't know what they were saying either. So you could take it as anything.
Hilarious. I worked for an Armenian woman out here for years.
Why
She was
wouldn't
the
you?
sweetest.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's a good end to that sentence.
She loved me. Yeah, she totally loved me.
Awesome.
Yeah, just thinking about her right now. I have to. You ever think of people and you're like, you know what? I got to call them.
Yeah.
I got to give them a call.
I thought about my. I had a therapist for 3 years when I kind of first moved out here, and my therapist, she was great. You know, she helped me. She is probably, though she might be like 90 now, but I don't know because she seemed older then. Anyway,
Yeah.
So, but she was. She had the funniest name. Her book. Her name is Helene Z, which I think was just added because there's a lot of Helene Harrises.
Okay.
So her name is Helene Z. Harris. And she wrote a book 20 years ago called Are You in Love with a Vampire? And I used to go, Helene, you know, that's the funniest name of any book ever in the world of self-help.
That's hysterical.
And she said, you know what it means though, right? And I was like, yes, I get it. It means an emotional vampire. And she's like, yes.
Hello. It worked
So
then.
it works. Yeah, exactly. She's such a great lady. She was a wonderful therapist, quite honestly. She used to do in the 70s, she used to do sex therapy in Los Angeles.
Oh, the story she must have.
Nude group sex therapy, nude. And she said in the late 80s, she stopped being nude. And she was like, I realized a couple of things. She said, I realized, first of all, I didn't look as good nude as I did in the 70s. And two, we didn't need to be nude. Nobody needs to be nude.
That's the type of thing like people in Philly, when they think about, oh, those wackos out in California, that's exactly what they think of.
When that happens, when I first moved out here, like probably 6-8 months, and I moved out in like 96 or 97, long time. So, I got a call. I was talking to my dad and he said, so you go on a lot of those Hollywood parties? And I said, nope, I'm not really Hollywood party type, Dad. And there was this pause. And he goes, good. How's the car running? And
From that to that.
Exactly. I was like, well, you're adorable. And so
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by everybody's first year in Hollywood. Was yours crazy? Was it?
yeah, it was dumb. I had my first job as I was a secret shopper at different grocery stores, Food for Less.
That's a sweet gig.
It was not. It paid
Why?
about $5 a store, and I had to drive
Oh.
to each of them.
Oh.
It was one of the lowest paying jobs I've
But
ever
did you get
had.
the food for free?
$2.50 per grocery store.
Yeah, bummer. I'm
so-
imagining like, here's a $50 gift card,
Yeah.
buy whatever you want.
Yeah. Nope.
Go from store to store, and you have like
Yeah.
stocked kitchen.
Nope. And
sucks.
then I started temping, and then I got a job at a closed captioning company. That was great. But the thing is, and I will say this, I'm glad my sister made me graduate from college because I get a better class of a shitty day job because of it. Your class of crummy day job goes up if you have a degree. So my temping, I got better pay for it. I got better, and you're not slinging burgers. I worked at a hot dog stand for 3 years, 3 summers in Cape Cod. It was like 87, 80, or 88, 89, and 90.
Was it anything like that movie One Crazy Summer with Bobcat Goldthwait?
I never saw that movie. I saw Bobcat last night.
Savage Steve Holland. It's tremendous.
Oh, he's a wrestler?
No, it's director. Steve Holland did like Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer.
Oh, that's funny.
And I'm pretty sure One Crazy Summer was set in Cape Cod.
Okay. I worked at a foot-long hot dog stand in a gay resort town called Provincetown, Massachusetts. And a foot-long hot dog stand, you know what joke never gets old to really drunk gay guys? Put a condiment on that. That's just good writing. That's just real good writing, you guys. It was the 80s. It was a different time. Anyway, so whenever anyone says it was a different time, I'm reminded, Chad Daniels?
I know the name.
He's a great comic out of Minneapolis, and he's a delight. And he has this joke about his grandmother. I don't know what album it's on, but it's about his grandmother being racist. And everyone keep telling him, well, she was raised differently. She was raised differently. It was a different time. She was raised differently. And him saying, yeah, but she's raised now, right? She's grown up now. Could she get her act together? Because she's an adult now, right? Yeah. And I was like, and then there might be another punchline, but that was my favorite line of it because I was like, that's just the greatest way to confront your old racist relative.
Yeah, I remember Joe Rogan saying, he was like, if they were a jerk now, chances are they were a jerk then, and nobody ever checked them. And then I remember he was talking about another comic in particular that had a rough childhood, and he was like, hey man, I get it. And I understand that, but he's like, everybody's been through something. He was like, there comes a point when you're an adult that you take responsibility for who you are and your actions and how they affect people.
Are you listening, whoa. Batman? Jesus Christ. They died when you were 7. I had someone on the Dork Forest.
I was just going to ask you about Dork Forest. You get a lot of comic book dorks on there.
Not as many as you'd think, but I had a Batman dork on who was talking about how you just think about how much good Batman Bruce Wayne could have done if he would have just opened up 2 or 3 factories in Gotham.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Instead of putting on a cape and millions of dollars worth of stuff and going punching people in the face.
Good jobs, healthcare.
Right. He could have bled off all of everybody's henchmen. Everybody's henchmen would have had jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Better schools, less crime overall.
Education, geniuses not slipping
Has
through the
anybody
cracks.
written that? That's so funny.
Yeah. I don't Dash Kwiatkowski.
Like as a little book. That would be so funny.
All right, Dash, if you're listening to this San Francisco comic, Dash Kwiatkowski came up with that plan.
That's great. What inspired you to do the Dork Forest?
I did a joke in the late 90s, early 2000s about how deep I had to go because I'd hang out with anybody.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about how deep I had to go into the Dork Forest to get to someone I would not hang out with. And so that's where the term the Dork Forest
that's
came.
awesome.
Yeah. And then I would name a bunch of things. And then so I just started this podcast in 2006 and it was, everything's got a dorkdom, right? So whatever your thing is, that's a dorkdom. I did Will Anderson about cricket. I have no idea.
I know nothing about cricket.
Will Anderson's
the British are really into it.
Right. He's Australian, and he's a great Australian comic, Will Anderson. And he explained cricket to me for an hour. And for an hour afterwards, I knew how cricket was played. And then it's gone. And that's the thing about the Dork Forest. Like, I think this week's episode is with Michael Palasek, a young comic. And he talked about Harry Potter.
Oh, that's cool.
For an hour. It was awesome. And last week it was Mike Kaplan, and he talked about ayahuasca. And I was like, whenever anybody wants to talk about a drug or a sexual position, I'm like, is this really a dorkdom?
Yeah.
You seem like the coolest guy in the world. And Guy O'Bealum he said, my dorkdoms are sex and weed.
You're like, you're not a dork, man.
I was like, first of all, almost everyone loves sex and weed. I don't know who. There's very few people. And then he opened his trunk and showed me the 30 different strains of weed that he has. And I was like, "Oh, you're a dork."
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then we just talked about how much he likes sex. So a Guy O'Bealum, a Sacramento comic. So I have a lot.
That's so cool that you put on these comics and you give them like comics from. It's everybody you've mentioned is not like LA based.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I try to do them when I'm on the road. I try to get the feature on just because it's
That's so great.
Yeah, just because everybody is a dork about something, and I try to get fancy people too. Don't get me wrong,
right?
But I also like if you're a fan of the show, and scheduling is the hardest part, of course.
Yes.
You can be on the show.
That's so.
I've
cool.
had this woman who does quilting in San Francisco who's like, when are you coming? When are you coming up to San Francisco? And I was like, I don't know, but I do want to get you. I want to get you. Oh, there's also a ballroom dance dork up in the Bay Area. But I was on this boat with 1,700 nerds this last week.
Perfect.
And I could have done 1,700 episodes, but I couldn't face it. I was like, there's got to be some downtime, you guys. So I recorded 6 episodes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is 6 hours of listening. And it was photography, Saturday Night Live.
Oh, cool.
Musicals, genealogy,
cool.
scuba diving, and escape rooms. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so they can be traditional kind of dorky things. Oh, comic books and video games and movies. Oh, I don't know. Rhea Butcher is a comic from here, and she did the 3 Back to the Future movies.
Oh, awesome.
W. Kamau Bell did like a scene by scene of Rocky 2.
Oh, that's awesome. I was just listening to the Rocky 2 soundtrack at the gym today.
Carlos Alazrahi did The Exorcist.
You know, I'm such a dork. I'm afraid to see that movie.
I've never seen The Exorcist.
Yeah,
and
I
after
won't
talking
do
to
it.
him, it's not happening.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, I don't need that in my life.
You've already scared me. Congratulations.
Yep. Oh,
You win.
What's the title of that film? Okie doke. Don't need to see it.
I want to
Scared.
send $14 to Peel, but I'm never seeing Get Out. It's not happening. It looks
what's it
terrifying.
about? I know it. Everybody says it's so great, but as soon as I found out it was a horror movie,
It's
I was
a
like,
horror movie.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
what
like
it's
scary.
about. Yeah, I don't want to be scared. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's all working out. I would like a happy.
Yeah,
a happy.
I have
movie.
very limited time to spend on stuff, and I want to feel better about life.
I went and saw
afterwards.
Logan.
How is that?
Logan, it's a Western, essentially. It's a cowboy movie with an X-Men or 2 in
Awesome.
it. And it's incredibly well done. I don't know. Did you ever see Unforgiven?
One of my all-time favorite movies of all time.
It's an
I even
amazing
had the little
movie.
dorky sheriff's badge that like they gave you a Blockbuster, and I begged for it. I was a grown up, and they were like, "These are for children." I was like, "Please."
Unforgiven is an amazing film.
When that whiskey
And-
bottle drops, I'm like, "Oh, somebody's about to get killed."
That house that he's building, holy
So great.
smokes! That Gene Hackman.
Oh, so good.
Measure,
Everybody kills it in that movie.
yeah, measure twice, cut once.
Yep.
That is not the work of Gene Hackman, who I always think of as a rich man's Dabney Coleman. But which is not to offend.
When I was a
Dabney
little
Coleman.
kid, I would get confused, but over certain actors that had a similar look and vibe.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Wait a second, what's
Is
going
that
on
the
here?"
same guy? It is not.
That's awesome.
So nothing to be done. I used to get it was 3 people, Judge Reinhold and Steve Guttenberg, mixed up, and then I would get them both mixed up with Michael Keaton until he did Batman. And
Tell you what, did you see The Founder with Michael Keaton?
no,
It's so good. It's
heard
about
it's amazing.
Ray Kroc. But Michael Keaton kind of killed it in every facet you could, like silently.
in every kind of.
Yeah, like stand-up comedy. He was really, really good.
That's right. He was a comic. I
He was a stand-up.
Yeah.
And then his comedy, like Mr. Mom, hilarious,
Mm-hmm.
gung-ho. Batman, awesome.
I didn't
Clean
see
and
the.
sober, or whatever it was. Dude, and now he's great in this. The guy's freakishly talented.
You know, he's sort of like he's more like Steve Carell. You know, like an old-timey Steve Carell, old-timey, 20 years ago, whatever. But Steve Carell's the kind of comedian and actor
Yeah.
that could do drama. And I think there's these guys there's actors and actresses, obviously, actors who you can just pour a script into and they become that person.
Yeah.
Who's Michael Douglas?
Oh, he's great.
He's the guy. Did you see Ant-Man?
No, that's the one superhero movie I've yet to see. But I love the Avengers, so now I
adorable.
want to go back and watch.
It is adorable.
Or the Civil
It is,
War one.
I think it's one of my favorite of them all. And I
I'm
just
definitely
bought
check it
Doctor
out.
Strange. I own them all, of course.
Did you see Doctor Strange? All right. Yeah, it's
yes,
like
I saw it
okay.
in 2D and in 3D.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Because he's a Sorcerer Supreme. You're going to want to see that in 3D. So why wouldn't you?
Well, we've hit the hour. I saw you're looking at your watch. You have your time.
I was trying to be subtle.
It's okay.
It's,
Name your album once again.
I'm not the hero of this story. And as of this recording, it made the Billboard chart.
Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations.
Thank you. It's never been anywhere near any of those charts. iTunes, Amazon, Billboard. It was on iTunes and Amazon for 3 days, number 1.
That's awesome.
And which means that it gets to go on to the Billboard chart. But when this airs, even if it airs hours from now, it will no longer be on the Billboard
cares?
chart.
That's
But
the
who cares?
win.
Yeah. Don't think I didn't take a screenshot.
Yeah, I did too, like a dork.
Totally took a screenshot.
Okay, and Dork Forest. Where's
Dork
that?
Forest is my podcast. It's on allthingscomedy.network.com.
I want to totally come on, but I'm a dork about so many different things.
Right. We'll do it. We'll do it at anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's
it
a
doesn't
I'm a
matter.
dork. Baseball cards, pro wrestling, pizza,
Yeah. Pizza.
everything.
Weird.
I make my own.
Oh, excellent. Do you have a stone?
Yeah, I do.
Or did you just buy a tile?
No. I have the stone, and I import the flour from Naples. I'm not playing any games.
We're going to talk about pizza. So, and then I have the Dork Forest podcast, which is just dorkforest.com. And then Pardon me. And then I have the comedy one on Nerdist with Lori Kilmartin called Jackie and Laurie Show. That's just
awesome.
about stand-up.
Awesome. Well, thank you
for
so
having me
much,
on the
dude.
show,
This was
Steve.
awesome. All right, thank you.
Once we had an easy ride and always felt the same. Time was on our side, we had everything to gain. Let it be like yesterday. Is that the old happy days? Mom, I look back on all the things.
So, guys, that was Jackie Kashian. Once again, her new comedy album, you can get it on iTunes. You can get it on Amazon. It is I Am Not the Hero of the Story. That's Jackie Kashian. I'm trying to find her Twitter. Lee, do you happen to have Jackie's Twitter?
I can find it.
Because you're way smarter at this stuff than me.
Her Twitter is, it's at Jackie Kashian. It's JACKIE, and Kashian is KASHIAN. And right now, her name on it is Apocalyptic Magoo.
Hilarious. That's so funny. And she does a great podcast called The Dork Forest, and you can subscribe to that. And that is TDF, The Dork Forest Podcast. And then it's at Dork Forest Pod on Twitter.
I've only seen her once doing a stand-up, but it was at the Improv in Hollywood, and I'd never seen her before. Didn't know what to expect, and it was like so surprising. Like, that's why I love going to those kind of clubs for that. So you can, like, someone who surprises you with how funny they are. Oh, it's so much fun.
Comedy's the coolest thing ever. I just looked on the Instagram because we're recording this on Saturday night, guys. So I have to head over to the Comedy Store, and I just saw that I get to bring up Renazizi on stage. It goes Chris Spencer, me, Renazizi, Dom Irera, and Mark Maron. How incredible is that?
That's a great lineup.
That's insane.
If you see that, do you start thinking, like, what am I going to say to bring up Steve tonight? Like, maybe I'll say something goofy, or do you?
No, I always take it way too serious.
It's like, you never try to mess with anybody, or just.
No, I don't like giving people the business.
Do you have to be professional? Will people get mad at you based on the intro?
Some people do.
Wow. Okay. I figured comedians would want to be silly and goofy, especially with their friends.
No, some people, they're really serious. They are. It's so funny. Like, if they have a stinky set, they blame the person that introduced them. I'm like, it's maybe you just did stinky.
Yeah, maybe you just had a bad night.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh, it's funny how, especially in a funny business, in the comedy business, you think people would be a little bit more relaxed.
You would think.
Oh, I'm grateful that you are very goofy and fun and like to have fun.
I like to have laughs. I'm very grateful that I was given the ability to make people laugh, because it's the best. You make so many friends that way.
I'm grateful for just like movie theaters, comedy clubs. I love laughing with like a bunch of people.
Yeah,
it's
the energy of an audience.
It's more like
it's a microcosm of life, Lee. We need each other.
That I think
makes it better.
That might be the next step for specials, because I love specials and I've seen some great ones. But it just does. I think maybe we have to start having like group watching parties, or
it's a great idea.
Something.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing is seeing other people laugh. Oh, there's always one lady in there who has a laugh she's probably embarrassed by, but that I love. Oh, there's no laugh that I love more than a surprise laugh.
It's the greatest. You know what I wrote down this week, and it's tied into that. I love, like, when I was little, I always wanted to be the deep voice guy in a barbershop quartet or a doo-wop group like Pretty Little Angel Oz. I always wanted to be that guy. And I love, like, when I'm at church or something and somebody that's near me that you would never expect, they start to talk, like, say a prayer out loud or something. Our Father. And their voice is all deep. It's my favorite. So funny and awesome.
I wanted that voice too. And the TSA guy in the Vegas airport had it yesterday, which I thought was weird. Do they do it for like a special emphasis, or is that just how they
No,
say?
Some people, that's just their voice. That's what just makes it so funny.
Did you ever laugh in church by mistake?
Did I? It's the best kind of laugh there is. Laughing when you're not supposed to laugh is extra fun.
Was it? Is it like at people, like, or do you like sometimes if
my brothers would always try? We'd always make each other laugh, and my big brother had this technique where he would start to laugh and then he would stop. He was pretending, so then he would just do it. So he'd be like this, like that, and then I would finish his laugh, and then I would get in trouble. Stephen Anthony, Chris laughed. No, I didn't. Steve is acting inappropriate.
Brothers
the greatest.
Evil geniuses. I love it. I'm grateful for just going back to the intro. Seeing that kid running around in a cape.
It's the greatest.
And it was like the coolest cape I've ever seen. It was like a full red cape. He was just killing it. And then I also I'm grateful for when kids know that they're being cute. There was a kid in the elevator who is like, every time someone else got on, he'd look up at his parents and go, "We can't fit anybody else," and people just start laughing. And he just like
he's like, "I'm killing it. Am I killing it?"
He just kept saying it like, "See, they're gonna squish us." Or
the best.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, life is fun. Just grateful to be here, man.
I'm grateful that Paul is making cinnamon rolls right now. How great is that? Homemade cinnamon rolls.
That's incredible. You know what I might do for cheat day?
Tell me.
I might go to, I've heard, I don't know if this is certain, but I've heard Dupar's has the best pancakes in the world.
I've heard that too. And you know what? I went there once and I didn't get breakfast, but it was pretty good. It wasn't that bad.
So I think I'm going to check that out. Speaking of, while we're on the topic of food, I want to send a special shout out to the Don Carlos Taco Shop in La Jolla, California. Ask for Ryan. I want to send a shout out to Domingo's Italian Deli in Encino. Ask for Carlo. And King of New York Pizza in Koreatown. Ask for Peter. They're all good guys. They're all small businesses that go out of their way to give back.
It's like a triangle of happiness and delicious food.
Yeah.
It really is. You need someone in like Anaheim or someone right down like
come on, Portillo's, hook me up.
Oh, the square.
That would be the greatest.
The Portillo's would complete the square of deliciousness.
Lee, I got to get over the hill to the Comedy Store. I want to thank everybody for listening. Please continue to use the Amazon banner. If you haven't checked out my CD, What's Up Nerds, please do so. And I'm grateful that you're all here listening. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. We'll be back next week.
Mommy didn't need no little boys. Won't you tell me where have all the good times gone? Where have all the good times gone? Where have all the good times gone? Yesterday was such an easy game for you to play. But then let's face it, things are easier today. Yes, you